All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to our session today. So we've got a few CMHA staff here who are all operating as peer supporters as part of our team. And in honor of Bell Let's Talk Day, we wanted to create a space to share their voices of lived experience with mental health challenge and illness and addiction recovery. So what we're going to do over the next few minutes or several minutes is kind of just have a casual interview style to give you guys a sense of hope for recovery, what that can look like, and put some faces to these conversations that are specific to our community. So my name is Haley Peak. I'm the peer support coordinator for CMHA Simcoe, and I get to be joined by a few members of my team. So this is exciting for me to see you guys here, and I appreciate you taking the time. I think what we'll do to start is I'd love to hear a little bit from each of you about your journey with mental health and mental health challenge. I recognize that we can't, wrap that up in a couple minutes each, but I think it'd be great just to hear a little bit from each of you on what your journey with mental health specifically has been. So Jody, if I can ask you to kick us off with that, can you speak a little bit to what that journey has been for you with mental health and illness?
Yes, I'm Jody. I'm a peer supporter for CMHA Simcoe. I have endured from a young age sexual abuse all the way to drug addiction, alcoholism. I've also have mental health issues, range from post-traumatic stress disorder and on. And my journey has been really good with mental health. I've had the same case manager of my own through CMHA for the last 12 years. I've also gone to Athena's for Women and Children shelter, not a shelter program for abused women. And my journey's been really good. Really hard, but it's been worth it. I'm very happy to be where I am today.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Jody. And I'm going to come back to you with a few other questions. We'll just give everyone else a chance to introduce themselves. And I'm going to go to Jadine, you next.
Hi, I'm Jadine. I'm a peer supporter for CMHA. 2.5 years ago, I lost my husband tragically, and I fell in a really dark place. I felt really empty inside, and all I wanted to do was talk about it. I became obsessed with his death, and I felt so alone because of the stigma behind mental health, that I didn't want to reach out for any help. Uh, and finally, I reached out to a family support worker at at CMHA, and I kind of let her kind of lead me into some directions.
Thanks, Jadine. I appreciate you sharing that. Teresa, how about for yourself?
Hi there, my name is Teresa. I'm also a peer supporter for Canadian Mental Health. My journey started about 9 years ago. I lost my dad, and he was my everything, and I just couldn't get over the pain of him being gone. So I got in my head that Tylenol took the pain away. So I got addicted to Tylenol, and that started my journey. Dealt with a lot of stigma from a lot of people, but ended up getting help from the CMHA, and it's been 9 years, and I'll say the help is out there now, and it's amazing, and I'm glad it is because it's people need it, so it's good.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you for being here. Stephanie, how about for yourself?
I'm Stephanie. I'm a peer support worker here in Barrie for CMHA. For myself, my mental health started in my 20s when I moved back here from Vancouver Island. I didn't start receiving help or looking for help until I was in my mid to late 20s. But when I did, for myself, the journey of learning to accept the really big feelings, and learn not to fear all of those really big feelings, and starting on that journey of acceptance, and with huge support from CMHA and the workers and staff and volunteers. It's been a great journey from the past 15 plus years of wonderful opportunities of self-discovery up until this point for myself and my journey. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Suzanne, I see you up next.
Hi there, my name is Suzanne. I'm also a peer supporter with CMHA. I would probably say that my mental health journey started probably back when I was 13. I had to really think back about it last night when I thought about it. Spiraled at the age of 13 into the beginning of a 30-year addiction to opioids and different medications. I didn't want to recognize or acknowledge the mental health just because of the stigma, the field I was in. I didn't feel like I could share with anybody. Probably the biggest bomb that went off was probably when my dad died. That's when I really started to see it. Couldn't handle the grief, spiraled the addiction even bigger, out of control, until basically, yeah, you live in that dark spot where you don't think you're going to get out, and happened to happen across the CMHA office, believe it or not, on my way home one day, and just had enough and took that one step into the office, and it's been the greatest thing I've ever done. And yeah, since then, my mental health has been greatly, greatly improved, and they've been great. And now I'm here. It's where my journey's brought me.
We're happy to have you here. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Dwayne, can you speak a little bit about your journey?
Well, I heard a bit about it so far, hearing from everybody share. I got involved with mental health at the age of 21. Probably could have used it at the age of 15, 16. I moved out of my parents' place and got my own apartment. And maybe wasn't the best decision looking back, but so I've been dealing with the CMHA for 23 years now. I've had a whole slew of workers, got to know a whole bunch of people really well, and really lucked out finding employment with the agency I'm talking about.
Amazing. I have to say, I just picked up that all of you, I think all of you, if not almost all of you, are former clients of CMHA and now working for CMHA, which is so cool to me because, especially in the realm of peer support, which is tried and true to what that means. Being a peer, having gone through a struggle, seeking support and coming out the other side, and now you're able to give back in that same agency to your community from a stronger place. So that's phenomenal. Thanks all of you for sharing that. And what I want to ask is just a couple follow-up questions to that. So for you, Teresa, in terms of how did you find the strength to reach out for support? Do you remember there being a specific moment in time where it was that final push for you to say enough is enough? I need some external help here. Or was there a moment like that for you?
There actually was a moment, and it was looking at my daughter. And that's when I was like, what are you doing, Teresa? Like, you have your daughter, like what's wrong with you? And that's when my new journey started. I put myself in the hospital on my own and started my journey. But my strength was looking at my daughter, and she just started things going the right way. So
it's amazing. It's amazing. We never know what each other's pull is into motivation for seeking support. So to hear that for your daughter, that was your, I don't want to say wake up call, but moment of realization is huge, right?
yes.
And do you find that she remains a huge piece of you sticking to recovery?
She is a very huge piece. I think she's the mother half the time, but no, she is very, very supportive and very, like, she's good with me. She does walk on eggshells a lot. She worries that, something might happen with mom, but she's a very big supporter. If I'm having a bad day, I pick up the phone, I call her, I text her. She's right there to answer me, even though she's 3 provinces away. She's my biggest supporter. And yeah, no, I'm very lucky to still have her through my journey.
Amazing. And same question for you, Dwayne. Was there a moment for you, or can you remember a specific time that finally was that push for you to reach out for support, and what was that? Oh, I'm just going to ask you to unmute.
There we go. Back when I first got involved with treatment and support, it wasn't, and like I went totally out of control, and it wasn't like I was like, something's going on. It was like I ended up at emergency, and I didn't know what was going on. Didn't speak to anybody for about something like 3-4 weeks or something. So it was a matter of being at the end of my rope. There was just nowhere else. I couldn't function, and I went into Emerge and got that support.
Yeah. And I would imagine for a lot of people, that's something that they can relate to, is that that feeling of being at the end of your rope and being in hospital, and that being the reason that journey started. I think that's very real and very common for a lot of people. So just out of curiosity, Stephanie, for you, in your journey, what were some of the things you found to be most helpful when you were going through your space of recovery, whether it was something you discovered on your own or something that people around you were doing?
I found for myself having support of people around me that listened without judgment. That was huge. That was absolutely humongous for myself because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have that in my family. And just to have unconditional love and to have people in my life that cared about me. And I found those supports outside of my family. And I found I had to build my own family out of friends and support people. And when I gained that perspective and started using different tools that helped me, like journaling and learning to be more grateful and reaching out to other people and not isolating myself, it helped me to be more free and to start talking about my emotions instead of keeping them all bottled up, and to use my voice for the better and for the good. And that has helped me even to this day to use my voice and to get it out, and instead of letting it fester all inside there. So thank you.
I love that you mentioned that you didn't feel like you had that support in your, bloodline family, let's call it, or whatever, your conventional family, but so what you did is took it upon yourself to create your own family that was supportive. And I think for a lot of people, for starting out, that can be hard when we're not surrounded by individuals in our family that are supportive. So we do need to seek that outside. And how do we do that? And that can be a tough process, but to hear you speak to that really inspires hope that that is possible, and we can dictate who we bring into our circle and who can be there to support us. And it led to you being able to use your voice again and reclaim your voice. That's huge, especially around this topic. Jody, how about for you? So same question in terms of some of the things that you found most helpful. Is there something in particular that stands out when you were in your toughest spot that was a big light bulb moment for you?
Yes, my rock bottom was a few times, but the very last time I had a mental collapse. So I ended up at CMHA with the nurse, and she brought me to the hospital, and we decided that I needed strong medication, and I had mental health issues, which I did not know I had. And I fought my doctor on that all the way and told her she was crazy. There's nothing wrong with me. And finally, she got me to see the big picture about myself. And that's when I got the help that I needed through CMHA.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's when we first start out on that journey thinking that can't be me, like we don't associate, we hear sometimes these things and we think that can't be me, and that can be a result of self-stigma, right? So with that in mind, I actually want to ask, Suzanne, for you, in terms of stigma or self-stigma, has that been a tough part for you to navigate through with your journey and where you were at and where you are today?
I would say probably at the start, yeah. I mean, it all depends on your personal makeup too. I've learned on this journey, pride and ego is a terrible thing to have. And that probably was my biggest obstacle was, giving up the pride and the ego and admitting that I needed help. And and in all areas too, addiction and mental health, because we don't like to talk about it. We try to be superwoman and, do everything, and we don't take care of ourselves. So, yeah, that was probably a big part of it. And I worked in a field too where I didn't feel comfortable to discuss those issues. So that was another one too. So had I've probably, got rid of a little bit of that and felt more comfortable, I don't know how the journey would have ended. It might have started quicker than it did, but yeah.
Hindsight, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think part of the journey is like we learn as we go through it, and
Yeah.
that carries us forward. And if we do have what we call a setback or whatever language you want to put around it. So, Jadine, what about for you? Was stigma or self-stigma something that you struggled with along the way? And I'm asking because with days like Bell Let's Talk, that is a big portion of this day is to talk about stigma and reduce stigma. And I think it's doing a good job from a general conversation around that, but I know that something that's talked about less is the self-stigma that can be associated with our own struggles. So I don't know if that's something you can relate to at all.
Yeah, I actually did. The stigma that I felt it from everyone. And even though people say, that's not how they are thinking, I felt like everybody was thinking that way. And I just have to remember that I can't be ashamed of my story. And I really try to tell myself, like, I got to take this pain that I have and just turn it into purpose and my passion. And the more I tell my story, the stronger I feel. Every time I tell my story to somebody, I kind of pat myself on the back and say, oh, you're doing good, and just keep going. And I just feel like, just really, when I feel like someone's being like stigmatizing anything, I'm the first person that will say to them, like, hey, like, so people just, you got to educate people. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that we can take our own experiences and use that as platforms for education. And
Yeah.
it's not about shaming others, but like you said, educating them, right? Taking those opportunities, which is what it's all about. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask a couple of you. So, we talk about this idea of recovery, and for some people they like to reach for being recovered, and for others it's a journey of recovery, and that's individual, to each their own. I know for me, I'm always looking to just stay in recovery because I worry that if I strive for recovered, I'm setting myself up for failure. But that being said, Dwayne, I'm going to ask you, so knowing that the recovery of mental health, that journey can be very fluid, how do you manage when you feel like you might be taking a step back or slipping backwards? Like, what do you do in those situations?
I think one thing I rely on for if I'm having difficulty is my support network. That's workers from CMHA, different workers from different places I've worked, and but mainly it's my worker with CMHA. If I'm having a bad day and things aren't going well, then I've learned along the way to reach out and share. Like if I'm having a bad day, if I share that with somebody, then it's a problem that's halved in size.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like maybe even you've built that ability to reach out over the course of the years, right? And learning that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just having those people there who care and are able to do something about it is like I've gotten to the point where if I'm starting something new, I don't say no. I don't think I can. I doubt I can do that. That's where I would have said. But now I'm saying, well, if I look at the past 5 years and what I've set out to accomplish, I've accomplished pretty much everything that I've set out to. So now it's just a change in perspective. Now I can say, well, yeah, I'll try it. I'll probably do pretty good at it too. So
Good for you. That's awesome. Teresa, same question to you. What do you do when you feel like you might be having a setback or slipping back? Do you notice when that happens? And if so, how do you manage it?
I do notice when it happens. And at times it gets frustrating because I don't really have that social circle and support. I feel like there's still a lot of stigma around if Teresa has a bad day. So actually what I resorted to the last couple of times was I used to journal when all this started. So I go back and I read those journals and it's like, that was me. I don't want to go back to that. Like that was me. And I look at pictures of my daughter and it's like, even looking at her pictures, I'm not going back. Like that's, so I just do the pictures and the journaling and I usually snap out of it and get back on track again. I just
Awesome.
remember I'm not going back to that. And you just, the journals and the pictures are just reminders to me that I'm not going back to how bad it was. So
Yeah, it's interesting how journaling can be that kind of mirror back to where our brain was at that time. And
yes,
I definitely use that myself as a reflection of, oh, I don't want to be back in that space. That didn't feel
yes,
good. It's also a cool way to see how far you've come too.
yes.
Right? So lots of resilience and strength building in there.
I read them and I'm like, that was me. I did that. I talk like that. Like it's just, you're complete two different people. So that
Yeah.
gets me back on track again.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks to how human, mental health challenges can be, whether you have a diagnosis or an illness or whatever, it doesn't matter. I think sometimes people feel like if they're not officially diagnosed that they can't reach out for support, and we all know that that's not true.
That's not true.
Diagnoses or not, support's there, and it's important to connect with others who can relate, or on a clinical standpoint, to get the support you need and pull it in. I want to ask you all individually again. So for anyone that could be watching this, they potentially either have already made that big step to reach out and are in their journey of recovery. But for anyone who's potentially starting out and we all know, we've all been there, how scary it can be that first time when you're reaching out for support. It can be one of the scariest moments. What is one thing you'd like to say to that person today, if they were in that space? So I'm going to go to you first, Jody. Oh, I'm going to just take you off mute. The joys of technology.
There you go. I would say to them to keep trying, keep your head above water, and try and try and try until you get it right. Your journey is only what you make of it, and baby steps for anybody who's doing stuff. Baby steps, it'll bring you to where you need to go. And I just think mental health is peer support working is really good for people if they need the help and support to talk to somebody. And that's about all.
Awesome. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
What about for you, Jadine? What's something you would say to someone watching?
I say keep fighting. You're brave and you're stronger than you think you are, but you definitely don't have to do it alone. There's help out there, so you don't have to suffer alone.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, especially right now, that can feel very real, that there's a lot of people feeling lonely and isolated. So knowing that there are networks out there that you can access, like Stephanie said, creating your own family, right, of support systems. Which brings me to you, Stephanie. What's something you might want to say to someone listening?
I would say do the best you can to let the fear go when you're reaching out for support, because people do want to help. They want to help and they want to be there to support. And yeah, if perseverance, right? Of to keep reaching out for yourself, and the more you use your own voice and get used to, advocating for yourself, so much easier it will become, and the journey will begin, and it will be magical, and it just teeny tiny baby steps, and yeah, it'll all come together.
Yeah, so true. Thank you. Teresa, what's something you might say to someone watching?
I would tell them, first of all, that recovery is possible and to hang on and have hope, because you will get there. We all were at a state in time where we weren't going to able to get anywhere. It's possible, and there's lots of support. We're all have been in their shoes, and look where we are now. So it's just just want them to hang on and not give up, and just know there's hope and there's people out there that can help. And like, look how far we've all come. So reach out for help. And like I say, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Years and years, I didn't agree with that. And my light is so bright right now. So I just don't give up. Just hang on for hope, and recovery is possible. And we're all here if anybody needs us.
Thank you, Teresa. Suzanne, what about for you?
I would probably say a lot of the same similar things. I think probably what I'd like everybody to know would be just to take that first step. Like, call a friend, call CMHA, call an organization that can help you. Just take the first step, make the first conversation. It's scary, but if you can do it, it can be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And you know, we've all been in that same boat. We've all had the same feelings. And we understand there's a lot of us out there, and you know, it gets better if you can just take that first step. And I know it's the hardest one, but that would probably be what I would want them to know, is just do it.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. And Dwayne, anything to add to that?
I was gonna say, for anybody just starting out on their journey, hang in there, and it does get better. You know, that's one thing. I wonder if anybody said that to me, and I wonder that if anybody did, would I listen? Would I heard what they were saying? But honestly, it just gets better. You know, like, I'm a different person, but I'm the same person. But just the experience and people you come across is just, yeah, hang in there. It gets better.
Yeah, and I just want to pick up on what you just said there at the end, when you said, if someone had said that to me, would I have heard that, or would I have listened? And it's true. I often ask myself the same thing. And so the last thing I just wanted to speak to is, if you're watching this and you have someone in your life that you're looking to try and support, and you just feel like you're at a loss, you know, and it was all mentioned by all of you today, is just create a safe space for them. You know, listen to them, get curious, ask questions. A few of you said it, stay out of judgment, and that compassion and kindness. Because as much as days like today, we hear the taglines of reach out if you need support, I always like to go back to make sure we're reaching into others who we think might need support as well, because we all know part of feeling ill or having an illness can be the inability to actually reach out. So for anyone who's, you know, got a loved one that is struggling, and you're trying to figure out how do I help them, start with a conversation and approach that conversation with safety and compassion and non-judgment and empathy, and really just listen. It's not our job to fix someone, but it is our job to hold space and explore with them of what they might be open to trying, and just really getting a sense of where they're at, and reminding people, like you guys said, that you're not alone in that. And I think that that's this year more important than ever with COVID and isolation. So I want to thank all of you guys for taking the time today to speak a little bit about your journeys. And, you know, you're all amazing examples of hope for recovery. Like I said, I think it's so cool that you all went through the CMA, you struggled, you went through the CMHA, and you came back around, and now you're serving through that same agency. That's like through and through peer support. So I think that is just the perfect grouping of folks here. So really excited you guys took the time, and I appreciate it. And hopefully anybody watching this, you know, reach out to us if you need support. Peer support at cmhastarttalking.ca is where you can find us with any questions, or if you need help navigating the system, we're here. So thank you guys again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.